Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today what we're going to look at is objects and classes within Python. Python provides us with objects and classes, and we've been using quite a few of them. Even our data types such as integer, string, they're classes. And Python allows us to create our own objects and classes, which helps us organize our code. So in the slide showing right now, we've declared a class person and a class vehicle. And within each class, they have their own attributes, which are variables within the class definition, and they also have their own methods, which are basically functions within a class definition. So how we use objects and classes is, we define a class, we declare it, and we provide attributes and methods. And then to actually use a class, we create objects. Objects are the tangible things that we deal with in code. And in this slide here, you can see that we've instanced a class to create, in this case, two objects, objPerson1 and objPerson2, and each one of those is unique. They occupy their own space in memory, and they have their own attributes and their own methods. So we'll start with a working example of a class, and we'll create some objects from it, and then we'll see how it works, and then we'll explain how it works. Okay, first thing, create a class named person with some attributes, and let's throw a method in as well. And to create a class, instead of using the def keyword, we're going to use the class keyword. So class space and the name of your class, and by convention they're always capitalized, so P, capital P. And then we're going to make something called an initializer. This is a special method provided by Python, so double underscore init, double underscore. We have to use this self keyword, comma, and let's put some attributes in here. First name, last underscore name, and age. So when we create a person, we're going to have to supply first name, last name, and age. And then what we have to do is we have to assign it to the instance. First underscore names, then self underscore last name is equal to last name. So we're setting the class instance variables equal to the parameter list. Names. Okay, so self.age is equal to age. And for good measure, let's throw a method in, a very simple method. And def space full underscore name. And this does not take any input parameters except self. And then we have to return, and we're going to return self dot first name, concatenate an empty space plus symbol and self dot last name. Okay, so there's your class definition. Very simple, 3 attributes and 1 method. Okay, and I'll just put a comment in here that these are the attributes. And down here, here's our methods. And usually you're going to put your attributes first, and then your methods afterwards. And then now we're going to create something. So I'll call it objPerson1 is equal to person. And as soon as you put the open and closing parentheses, it gives you some hints to say what you need to supply. So I'll supply a first name, John, and then we'll supply a last name, and the last name we're going to supply is Smith. Okay, and one more thing we need to supply here is age. So these arguments are not optional. Then objPerson2 is equal to person again, And they need a first name as well. So let's put in, I don't know, Kate. And let's provide a last name. Johns. Okay, and she is 20. Okay. Now, let's change the name. I don't like that. Let's change it to Jones. Okay, there we go. Now, how do we access an attribute in our application? Well, now we have created objects. So the first step is create a class. Second step is create objects from the class blueprint. And now we have 2 objects created. And now we should be able to actually access the attributes and that method as well. So obj person1 dot, and a wonderful thing will happen here. As soon as we hit the period, we have access to age, first name, last name, and our method full name. So let's grab the first name, and we'll just encapsulate that inside of a print statement for obj person1. And let's do the same thing for obj person2 to verify that they have their own attribute values for first name. And let's run the program and see if we get John and Kate popping up. And sure enough, we do. Okay, so we've done a couple things here, right? We declared a class, we instance some objects, and we access some attributes of the object. There's a lot more to classes, and we're going to explore a couple little nuances of how we did this in just a moment, and we'll probably call a method too. Okay, now I think what we should do is we should try to access that method full name. We've already created an object, or we've created 2 objects actually, right? obj person1, obj person2, based upon the person class definition. So now let's try to access that method. And to access a method, it's super easy. You'll see above there on line 20 and 21, we access an attribute. And accessing a method or calling a method is actually quite similar. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to provide the name of the method after we attach it to a object. Okay, so print, and we have our obj person1 dot full name, and we need open and closing parentheses after the name of the method to call it. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to print obj person2 dot full name, open and closing parentheses, and let's run this and let's see what happens here. And our original property showed up, our attributes, and we called the method full name. Okay, now what we need to do is, or what I think we should do is, now that this ran, we should talk about this self keyword. What the heck is that? And where the heck did it come from? And if you notice, even in this small example, we're using this self keyword all over the place. So let's talk about it. So in our class definition, as you can see here, we have used the self keyword quite a bit. The self keyword helps Python distinguish between our different objects we created and their data. So when we instanced our person1, obj person1, we said person, we supplied the arguments John Smith 25. In the initializer, we have the self keyword followed by the name of the 3 parameters, first name, last name, and age. And as well, we have self.firstName equals the first name, self.lastName equals last name, and self.age equals age. Well, Python needs self to know that these are separate. They're going to be scoped to the object, so to speak. And same with full name. That's a method that's going to return back the instance or object's copy of the class. So whenever you see the self keyword, whether it be an attribute or a method, we are accessing what we call instance attributes or instance methods, because Python has different kinds of attributes and methods. But for this introduction, this is about as simple as it gets. And the next few videos, we're going to change things up a little bit. Thank you very much for watching the video. And please stay tuned for more videos on class and objects. And please subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.